What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and I'm so excited to bring you guys an episode today with Courtney Coppinger. Probably first team all badass this year. It's been really exciting to follow Courtney's season in 2025. I gotta say, Courtney kind of came onto the scene for me this year when she got a fourth place finish at the Sunapee Scramble, just off of the Mountain Classic team, where she ran an absolutely amazing race, put on a clinic. From there, she went on to double first place both of the GoPro Games 10K as well as the Pepe's Face-Off, and then getting a top 5 finish at the Tapac Trail at the Golden Trail Series race in Mexico. And then to top it all off with the cherry, to be selected to take Grayson Murphy's place on the Mountain Classic team for this year's Worlds team, going to Ken Frank in Spain. Courtney has been an absolute heater. And it was exciting just to get her backstory, to talk about, her whys, what drives her, what excites her about the sport, what has led to just such an amazing season this year. We talked a little bit about joining the Brooks team. We talked about a lot of things. This was a really exciting episode. And it was just an honor to be able to have a conversation with her on the podcast, because I've become such a big fan over the last few months. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Courtney has just an amazing story, and I think you'll get a lot out of this one. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy Courtney Coppinger.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
People, what's going on? It is summer, guys. Super exciting. Adventures in the mountains, summer races. It's about that time to start thinking about your gear. I want to say our brand partner, Ultimate Direction's got you guys covered. Pop on over to ultimatedirection.com. Check out a whole quiver and new vests and belts that have just dropped. Pop on over to check out the new race and ultra vests. Race vest in a 6-liter, the ultra vest in a 12, and beautiful new aesthetic colorways. Definitely dynamic and stretchy, cool new materials. Definitely something that can definitely buff out your kit for 2025. On top of that, we did just drop a brand new pull quiver that's compatible for all of these vests. Definitely something you're going to want to add. And if you're not a vest person, pop on over to the belt section. You can check out the utility belt and the comfort belt. The utility belt is a little bit more of an ultra belt, more storage capacity, a little bit thicker, and ability to hold poles. The comfort belt's a little bit smaller. Think sub-ultra or workout maybe oriented belt that's going to hold your gels and your phone. Still super durable, but just a little bit tinier for those smaller adventures or maybe shorter races like a Cirque Series race or something like that in the mountains. So pop on over to ultimatedirection.com. They have you covered for all your hydration solutions. Use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off. Again, that's SteepStuffPod, one word, for 25% off. Ultimate Direction's got you covered. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. Let me know. I'd be happy to answer any product-related questions for you guys. So thanks so much. Check out Ultimate Direction. Courtney Coppinger, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm happy to be here. And it's what is it? A Wednesday? Thursday. Oh my gosh. I lose count of my days now. It's summer.
Same. Yeah, I'm so happy we're able to put this together. Like I said, I called your race at Sunapee with Danny and MK, and like since then I've been such a big fan. And everything you've been doing this season, like definitely like first team all honors. And now that you're made the world's team, I'm like, this is a great opportunity to have a conversation. So super stoked to chat with you and just get to learn more about you.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe for the audience, like let's do like the background, talk about Kansas a little bit, talk about steeplechase, talk about college, things like that.
Yeah, sure. I'm a Midwest native, so from Kansas City, and went the Kansas pipeline. So I ran for University of Kansas and kind of developed into a steeplechaser. And then got the opportunity. I ran 5 years, and I would say I didn't believe in myself or my coach or my program really into the last year. And I really bought in and kind of had like a, world altering year for myself, and got the opportunity to, be All-American and set the school record in college, which then like ultimately catapulted me into like the professional running track circuit. I graduated in 2018 and moved to Flagstaff, Arizona, to pursue running and my graduate degree at NAU, which worked really well hand in hand. And so I was able to jump into some pro teams out there, had a few opportunities with a few different teams, ultimately landed at the very beginning of the Dark Sky Distance team, which is supported by Under Armour now, back in like 2019, and then raced the pro circuit for a bit on the steeplechase. I went and represented the U.S. Back in 2019, on my first international team and steeple. And then kind of classic COVID hit and your whole world changes again, and got burnt out of feeling like I was a hamster running on a wheel, and ultimately like have a kind of a funny story of how I got into the trail world, but was in Flagstaff in the mountains and ended up running some trails, and then ultimately leaving the track for a little bit. And then I've been flirting with kind of the hybrid sort of deal since. But yeah, I mean, there's like a lot there that you can go into, but that's kind of like the long story, super short.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's get back to college. I do want to talk about like what your experience was like running D1 and running at a big school like Kansas, like especially the steeple as well. Can you talk a little bit about, Can you talk a little bit about your experience there? Like, I know so many athletes that have gone D1 and it's usually really split. Like, it's very 50-50. Some people have really bad experiences and some people have amazing experiences.
That's super fair question. I had an absolutely lovely experience. Like if I were to redo it over and over again, I would pick the same program, same place, same people. I was recruited right after the program had won. They were coming off the national championship win in track. And so I was being recruited during that season. And so they, like, when they won the track and field championships in 2013, they were really focused on sprints and field events, and wanted to build out their distance team. And so I was recruited with, I think, 8 or 9 of us, which is a big incoming freshman class. And we kind of changed the distance program for the better. We ended up qualifying the team in 2015 for the national championships in cross country. And that had been the first time that cross country had qualified for nationals since, I want to say, it was over 20 years, if not more. And so that was a really big kind of marker there. We also, I was a part of the team with Bryce Hoppel and Sharon Locady, and got to see, Sharon kind of pave her way and who she is today as a marathoner. And Bryce now, both of them are Olympians, finishing super high in the Olympics. And I was kind of right there with them, and us three really kind of had a lot of momentum of like, hey, you guys, we can come from not a lot and do a lot with this if you buy in and trust. And I think a majority of the reason why we're able to like change that program for the better was instilling a really healthy culture. You say there's a split in the NCAA, and a lot of my friends, if not most of my friends that have been part of big D1 programs, have been caught up in really poor culture on teams. And my coach did a really good job to And I would say our incoming freshman class, the 8 or 9 of us, like did a really good job to hone in on proper culture that just was sustainable and long term and ultimately for each other. And then if at any point any person kind of got out of line with that or struggled in a way, which, you know, is going to happen with whatever eating disorders or, you know, team gossip, whatever it is, that's just so classic in the running world. I think we were able to like have a really strong foundation and core to that team, and that ultimately made my experience really exciting and healthy and really positive overall. My sister, actually, she's 4 years young or 5 years younger than me. When I graduated, she was an incoming freshman to that same team, and so it's really cool because we've had up until last year, 10 years of the Coppinger girls running in that program, which is really cool. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was a really positive experience.
That's so cool. When you were being recruited, like, was Kansas number one on your, like, how was the school listing? Like, was there other schools you wanted to go to? Like, how does obviously didn't go D1. What was your like experience like in the recruitment process? Like,
Oh my gosh, crazy. It's like blast from the past. I haven't been asked this question in so long. It's so good. Okay, so I went to an all-girls private Catholic school, high school, and so I thought, oh well, this is what I know and this is what I want. So I'm going to kind of put out feelers and respond to the coaches that are from the small private schools, and I'm going to get the heck out of Dodge. I'm going out of Kansas. I'm, you know, going far away. So I visited the most random plethora of schools. It's not even worth mentioning because it's just truly so random. And now I look back and laugh at that because my father was the one that was like, you should make sure that this is great and I love this for you and you're getting recruited there and you're going to get, you know, school paid for. Awesome. Love it. But make sure you go in and just see a state school. You know, Coach Witt is recruiting you. You should just go and see it. It's right down the road. You can go, whatever. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And I went and I was like, oh, okay. So I see why people go to these big state schools. There's so many more resources there, you know, like the athletic facilities, the academics that they had. Surely they weren't the same as these like tiny, small schools that were more academic focused. But I found my niche ultimately like in, you know, like a bigger school, making it much smaller. And like my ultimate decision was, honestly, it's so funny now. I was like, if I can get into the honors program at KU, then I can make this big school small and I'll totally be sold on it. And I ended up getting in, and that was like, gave me the ammunition to be like, okay, you can also focus on academics and athletics at a school that will help you with both. So yeah, that was like the recruiting process. I think it's so funny. I didn't even visit any other big state schools. I was recruited by a handful in the Midwest, but I never even gave them the time of day.
interesting. As a honor student, like, obviously, like, it sounds like you took academics extremely serious. How hard was it to balance both that and running at a high level?
Oh, I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty driven person, and like the more that I can take on, usually the better I am motivated with all the things up until a point, you know, like we're not invincible. But yeah, I love school, always loved school. I'm the oldest of 3 girls and grew up kind of like teaching them in a classroom, thinking I would be a teacher one day. And you know, begging my mom to go and buy like school workbooks at like the teacher store so I could do them. And, you know, I'm not like a brainiac, but I am someone that does really like academia and academics, and end up, you know, pursuing a graduate degree to go and do that. And so, yeah, it was fun.
Wow, so cool. Back to running. I gotta ask, why the steeplechase? Just because it's so interesting to me looking backwards now at how many steeplers are so good at trail running, and like just why that transfer is so, like, for some reason so easy for a lot of steeplers. Like, why did you select pick the steeplechase?
So my coach in college said that he looks for 2 main things when he's recruiting within the team to who will be like a steepler. And he looks for someone that's not injury prone and someone that has a good head on their shoulder, someone that's like able to compete and like is a tough competitor. And I think he saw that in me right off the bat. And I had, you know, kind of been steeple curious like right away as a freshman, and started just hopping in with the older girls and doing some drills and whatnot. And then, ultimately, like it was where I found like that was my thing. Also, if like you see any sort of live stream or any photo of any time me running, I tower over most of the women, especially, I don't even know, like someone the other day was like, I saw a photo of you on the Golden Trail start of Mexico and you were just like 10 feet taller than everybody. And that's truly correct. Like, I'm not that tall, but I feel like runners are very short.
We all are. How tall are you?
I'm like around 5'9".
Okay, that's pretty tall for, yeah.
But I swear my legs are 5 feet of that. And so that was also it lent itself well to the steeple. It was like, oh, yeah, the 30-foot, whatever, like jumps are a step for me. Whereas the other girls I was competing against, I felt like they were running faster than me, but they had a bit more of a hop to do over that.
That's true. That's true. Having long legs makes it so much easier. Oh, yeah. I'm not very tall, and my wife's always like, "Why are you so good at running? Because you're so short." I'm like, "Thanks. I really appreciate that." Like,
well, honestly, like in the trail world, like the small steps really help. Like as soon as it gets really steep, I think I have a disadvantage because I'm just like super long. So,
well, it's funny you say it because like Ali Mack, super tiny. The first time I saw like El Hussein and like Patrick's really little too. Like they're not very big at all. So yeah, it's interesting why most like really like high end professional runners are actually very tiny. It's interesting. I got to ask you this question just because I ask it to every steepler. Why do you think that transfers so well to trail running?
Oh, I think it's because like our brains are like, okay, don't throw me in a 30 lap flat race. Like give me something that can make it more fun. It's like something that can spice it up. And that's where I felt like I shone in it. It was like the jumps were the fun part where there's like strategy with it, just like running downhill in a super techie trail race. There's strategy in it. And it's like, how are you going to come off that water jump? How are you going to come off that descent? And so I feel like we're kind of all wired in a way that was really fun and a thrill for us.
So cool. As a D1 steepler or D1, just any kind of D1 athlete, like how was your goal setting like? Like was it to achieve the old American standard? Like was it nationals? Like how do you guys think, or how were you thinking like in the program?
Yeah, I think that is like the answer to that is like it was a 5-year process for me, especially just like within the NCAA. 5 years of figuring out who I was and how I was going to compete and how I was going to train. I had a really rocky first 3.5, 4 years. And, of just like finding my headspace and not getting super nervous and being able to maintain the training. And it took until really that 5th year, and I had alluded to it, of like true belief in myself and in my coach and my team, in a way that allowed me to like kind of take a step back on the like nerves and relax a little bit into it and know, okay, I'm going to like step up on the starting line. I actually now remember where this mindset changed. This is crazy that you asked me that question. Okay, so there's a Boston like BU meet in December every year, and it's like where the NCAA stars go and qualify early on, coming off the cross country season, to run a 5K to qualify them for 5K indoors, indoor champs later in that next year. And my coach asked me during my last year to go and pace that race for Sharon. And around that time, it was like Krista Schweizer and Sharon were, crushing the 5K, 10K scene and the NCAA. And I was flown out there with Sharon and my coach to pace all these NCAA stars to get their national championship qualifier. Grayson Murphy probably was in that race too. And I remember the whole process of like, okay, am I good enough to even be here to pace these girls? And like, I had such a like revelation during that time because I stepped up on the line, I paced them, whatever it was, a mile, halfway, whatever, stepped off, watched them finish. And I came up to my coach and I was like, those girls are no different than me. And he goes, I've been trying to tell you that for 3 years. He's like, you're right there. And I kind of get chills even recalling that, because I think that was a big mindset shift for me of like, oh, wait, I deserve to be there and I'm just as good as them. And it's even fun to kind of be the underdog. And I think a lot of the success I've had in 2025 kind of comes from reminding myself of that headspace of like, it's fun to be the underdog and be like, no one's betting on me, but I'm just as good as these people. So let me show them, And so I think my goal setting process came from really just trying to find out like where that headspace and that mental space could take me. I knew I was fit and I knew I was a competitor. And so I was like, okay, let's lean into those really big strengths that I have and try to pull out of being freaked out from races, like pull away from that headspace and then lean into the competitive grittiness. And that ultimately got me, and my coach by the end was like, you were able to accept the school record. You're able to be All-American. And I think I truly started believing that. It wasn't something that I, set out to college and it was like, I'm going to be an All-American. Even to this day, I say I've never even stepped into the pro world saying I want to be an Olympian. It was never my goals. My goals were always like trying to be realistic with where I was at and what could be obtained in that season, because the seasons change and your fitness changes and your mind space changes and your job changes, everything changes. And so you have to be, I'm somebody that's super flexible. And I think the rigorous athletes that like put their head down and, like Olympian or bust, I really respect, because that's a whole different breed. But I think in that time, I really had to discern that I was separate than that. I was different. And so what was going to work for me was something different. And so it was more like piecemeal of like, okay, you qualified for regionals. You've been at regionals before. Why not go to nationals? You're right there. Okay, we'll go to nationals. And now it's like, okay, let's be All-American. You're ready to be there. And so, it's not maybe the typical way of setting goals, but it works for me. And yeah.
It might be hard to describe this just because, I don't know, maybe you think about it a lot, maybe you don't, but like, that's kind of rarefied air to become an All-American. Like, how do you view that? Like, is that something like you think about a lot, or is it something I did and like, oh, it's in the past?
Yeah, I don't think about it often. It's so funny that you're asking me questions about it, because I'm like, this is so funny. I like don't even, the only time it ever gets brought up is really with other people where they're like, oh, she's All-American steeplechaser. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I totally forget. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't like it is one of the highlights of my career, but it isn't like something that I'm going to die on like, oh, at least I got that, because again, it's all about the mindset of the sport. And if I didn't have that, I think I'd still be happy.
So cool. Let's talk about going pro after college. Like moving out to Flagstaff, doing the NAU, like going to school and doing that. Like, you were going to school while also running at a professional level, like kind of balancing both? Okay.
Yeah, I started my PhD at NAU. And while I started that, I started joining kind of groups out in Flagstaff. I was like, had a relationship with Ben Rosario, who's also from the Midwest and had, at that point started the NAZ Elite and was the head coach there. And so joined their group for, I think, like 6 to 8 months. And so if you're connecting dots now, you can see, okay, she was with Aaron Clark. She was with Grayson Murphy.
Yep.
Yeah. And so
was Rachel too, or like Rachel Smychek as well, or no?
Rachel was out in Flagstaff at that time, not in that group, but we all started, the wheels started to turn back in 2018, 2019, when we were all like, are we built for this? And so I trained with an AZ Elite for a hot sec and realized that the marathon life was not for me. I'm not going to be a road 10K girl, a road marathoner. I still do not have any interest in doing that. And so
is this the training? Like, is it the burnout of the training? What about it?
I don't know. The training, but also just the race doesn't excite me. And I'm someone that's like, the only way I'm going to get motivated to do anything. I'm just not I'm not your typical like high strung type A athlete. I am like, my coach now is starting to get to know me more, but I told him from the beginning, I was like, if left to my own accord, I wouldn't run. So I need someone to tell me, go run. What excites you? Okay, let's, the races excite me. So I'll get the training done for the races. And so, just the marathon doesn't sound fun at all. And so I trained with them for a little bit and then ended up joining the Under Armour team in 2019, coming off like a really strong year. I placed like 7th at the US champs that year and then got to, represent the US for the first time. And so I do look back and see that was a highlight of my career, was getting to go. And I raced in Belarus, which is a really interesting place to compete. And was racing steeple with Under Armour 2019 on.
That is so crazy. You wrote a beautiful Instagram post about making, and we'll talk about this like when we talk about the world's team, but about the last time you represented Team USA in 2019. I know you kind of went into the experience of Belarus, but maybe talk a little bit about that. Cause I feel like, yeah, like trail running can be intense, but like the stakes are not like what it's like running, basically track and field, like at an extremely high level. Like how much more pressure is on that, or how different is it?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure, and it's really hard to go and make a world team in track and then compete well. Like you almost need that like one to get out of the way. And so I was like, it was a sugar on top, like sprinkle on top of a really great season, right? Like it wasn't expecting to make that team, and it just kind of was like, whoa, okay, well, now you have to train for 2 more months. Now you have to go and race at this high level. Now you have to go and like be wearing the US kit on the track. And the experience was so special. Belarus, if you know, is just like a really one unique place, and maybe a place that will forever be changed because of the political climate there now. And so when we went in 2019, it was right before all the airstrikes. It was right before kind of the war time picked up, and we might have been the last like really large group of sport-oriented Americans that were in that country. And they actually were doing that event there as a way to appease the EU and try, like, it was a whole political thing, which was really cool to be a part of. And I didn't compete well at it. I think I probably got dead last. I don't even know if I ever looked at that result. But this experience was valuable because you get to see like the individuals that are like 4 years, 5 years your senior, and that have just like they're just dialed in it, right? And these are the people that have stuck around in the track and field world for a while and are competing at the highest level, consistently getting top 5 in the US and consistently making world teams. And I think that was really special for me to like go there and be like big eyes, like, oh my gosh, I'm just out of college. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, this is so cool. And so I don't reflect on that experience all that often, but it is a nice to do that right now, and makes me feel good.
Wow, that is so cool. And especially like the political aspect of it. Like, Belarus, obviously, a lot of political turmoil there, a lot of things going on in the world. And the fact to like be the last team, sporting team / like even American team to go over there, that's wild. And it's like a memory you'll have for the rest of your life. Like something like you were in this place at this particular time, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, on the days that I wasn't racing, I was like riding on top of tanks and shooting machine guns at like the local like museum thing. So it was crazy. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's like really post-Soviet, like kind of.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Super brutalist. Yeah. I mean.
Interesting. Yeah. One of my best friends was born in Hungary, and like he has the hammer and sickle like on his birth certificate. I like make fun of him all the time about it. Anyway, it's a different conversation, but like it's interesting callbacks to like another time in the world. Okay, so 2019 comes around, and that seems like it's a very pivotal year for you, where or I should say 2020-ish, because you said around COVID is kind of where you kind of stopped going professional, and we're just kind of trying to find your place in the running world. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think it was 2020. Yes. The end of 2020 was obviously COVID, and the Golden Trail series, they did this thing, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, and a lot of people don't realize they did this, but they still held their Golden Trail final. But the way to get there was to go and compete in these segments, asynchronous. You just go and compete in a segment, and the fastest person on these segments, these mountain segments around the US, around the world, will get flown out to the Azores for the Golden Trail final. And I remember I had raced the Sunset Tour, like a 1500 and back to back, like a 1500 one week and the 1500 next week. And PR the first week, PR the second week, on a roll, right? And I come off of it, and I come back to Flagstaff because I was in LA. I come back to Flagstaff, and like for some reason, I had taken 3 days off after the 1500, and I just had this itch to go and do that segment. And it was a 17-mile segment in the San Francisco Peaks of Flagstaff, climby, technical, way high up, all the things. And I just destroyed myself doing this. I mean, I had never run 17 miles to begin with. I remember I took one gel and couldn't even finish it. I mean, this was like I don't even know how many hour effort. I fell like multiple times and finished and just felt this like wave of euphoria. I was like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing I've ever done. Then I couldn't walk for 3 weeks after because I had never been more sore in my entire life, because like I was strictly trained to run like a little hamster on a track. And then I just go and send it like as hard as I could, hammer it. And, I had the leading time up until the last day, and then somebody came and took it. And so I didn't end up going to the finals, but the funny thing is I think that got me hooked. I just was like, oh, there's something there for me. And like the fact that I've never done anything like this and had a fairly fast time. And, I was like, oh, this is cool and exciting and new and fresh, and I need this.
Wow. So many what ifs with that too. Like what happens if you would have, because like that was the year, I think Walmsley went out of Flagstaff. It was the one and only time we got Walmsley there. But like just, that was a really cool year. And they made a great video about it. So a lot of what ifs on if you would have made it. But I mean, you're running the Golden Trail Series basically now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But still, like if that would have been a very easy transition right away had you just made it and gone from there.
Yeah, the timing wasn't right, I guess, and that is all right.
Yeah. I see you training in Boulder now. Is that where you reside? You're training in Boulder? Very cool.
I just moved to Boulder.
How do you like it so far?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I lived in Flagstaff for 3 years. I lived in Santa Barbara, California for 3 years. And then last year moved to the Front Range last August, and then like Golden area, and then just made the move up to Boulder a handful of weeks ago. And I feel like it is, the universe was just kind of pulling me here. And since going kind of full-time athlete and coach this year, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to like do it the right way and be in the community and be able to build out community and, with brands and people and everything here. And so it's felt, really right. And I have trails at my back door. And so it's lovely.
So many good people to train with too. You got Lauren Gregory there. You have a ton of folks. Like it's wild how many high level trail runners like in the scene right now like are residing and training at Boulder, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
we have like a really good community that's like, I don't know, good culture, good people here, which is fun. Yeah.
It's cool. It's funny. So going into the season, like I had Rachel T on. Must have been right after. It had to have been right after you guys got back from like either Great China Wall or I think it was it was the China race. And she had said to me, because we were just talking in passing, and she had said, like when you're starting to, Courtney's a great person to talk to. And she was kind of giving me just like recommendations. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Courtney, like, why have I not come across you before? And so I kind of stored it in the back of my head, and then we're calling the Sunapee race, and sure as shit, you're in fourth place and like having an amazing race, an amazing day. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why you were recommended. So maybe let's get into your season now, and just kind of like this year has been like a really pivotal year for you just on the scene, like not just Sunapee. You had a great race at China Wall. Now you're on the world's team, and you're going to be going out to compete in Ken Frank in September. Like, let's dive into that. Like, did you just shift your focus this year? Like you kind of said, I relocated to Boulder. I've been doing, kind of going more professional in it. Like, is that what made the switch, or like what has made the change for you?
Oh, there's a lot to that. I always joke, and the people that know me best always joke with me about it, but I have gone through like 3 different retirements in this sport. From like 2019 until basically last year. I had quit the sport for several different reasons. And so there's been like a lot of reworking mentally and internally, a lot of things that play into why this year is going the way it's going. And I was basically, in a spot where my mental health wasn't doing well. And I was just caught up in like identity crises of like, oh my gosh, like, am I a runner? Am I, pursuing my other career? Like, who am I? and being caught up in like the constant cycle of like having to get better. And if you're not improving and you're not stepping on the line and winning, then you're an absolute failure. And so going through massive upheavals and iterations of new me, ultimately marked by like leaving a relationship that I needed to leave early last year. And part of all of that, launched me into probably the hardest year and darkest season of my life. With the dark, really heavy times, come a lot of growth and fruit. And I knew like I was in the pits and I knew I was in the tunnel, but I knew at the end of that, there was going to be light and fruit and something was going to come out of this. And so through a lot of healing last year, and just like personal growth and therapy and all of the really hard things, I started to come back into myself. And a lot of like that self that I was coming back into was like my little Courtney self of like somebody who I knew well and had like feelings of and touches of over the last 6-7 years, but lost sight of her. And so coming into this, like actually ending 2024, I was still sponsored by Under Armour on the trail. And that sponsorship had ended. And I, basically was like, okay, I think this is the end of my running again. And that's okay. I've gone through a lot and I don't really know what's next. And so I think this is just like a sign to give it up again. And that's okay. Like I've restarted my whole life, moved across the country, met new community, new people, all of the things. And so I'm like, well, this is just part of it. It's just part of this shedding and rebuilding of my life. And at like literally a few weeks after that sponsorship had ended, or I was told it was ending at the end of that year, I had a conversation, was reached out to by Adam Chase, who's in Boulder, and he was helping build out the Brooks team for this year. And they were really trying to invest in, like developmental athletes. And I told him, I said, I don't think I qualify as a developmental athlete because I've kind of done there and been on the scene a bit. And, but if you guys want to take a chance on me and believe in me, like, here's my story. And I was really candid with him about some things. And I was just like, I've just been going through it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to go and win UTMB or win a world championship, but I'll tell you that I'm going to be a really good team member and I can be a mentor because of what I've gone through. And he took that information and he, went back to the sports marketing team, and they came back and I had another conversation with them, and they were like, we see you for who you are and we value you and we want you to be a part of this team. And I think that, similar to the other sponsorship ending, that was also a sign of like, maybe I'm not done yet. And that's maybe okay. And so I took, October, November, December, basically off of running. Didn't have a coach, hired a coach in January, Matt Daniels in Boulder. I had been recommended him by several people. And once again, it was like leaning into what the universe was telling me of like, okay, if you are going to do this, you're not going to do it alone. You're going to do it with the people that love you and support you and know you. And it's going to be right. It's not going to be out of specific pressures or tied up in an unhealthy relationship. It's going to be for you and in a really healthy way. So I hired Matt and I told him, I said, hey, this is my story. Once again, I was candid with him. I said, I'm not the type of athlete that's going to go out and like run all the extra miles. Like, I'm going to need a little bit of help. I know I'm capable. I know I have it in me, but I need someone that understands what I've been going through and what I've gone through, and can see my potential and work with me because I'm a work in progress. And with, I think the help of, Matt Brooks, and then also like meeting my new partner who came alongside me too and was like, hey, like, you don't have to be done with this. Like, this can be a new season for you if you want it, but don't force it, And so I had 3 kind of like big support systems already built in that were like, yeah, we're here. Whatever happens, but there's no pressure. There's no expectation. If you try it out, if you dip your toe in and you don't want to do it, it's okay. And so I think coming back into 2025, like an entirely new self of like, I had shed a lot of the past and learned that I could seek joy in running. Before running, to go a little bit into it, before running to me was like an escape from a place where I wasn't healthy and from a place specifically in a relationship that wasn't serving me. And running was the one place I could go to like feel a little bit myself. And so now that I had done all this work this last year, I felt like, whoa, I am myself. Now what can running be? Now running's going to be somewhere that brings you joy and is a place where you can grow into and see again, like you did in college and you did in high school, and get back to that. And so that was the mindset coming into this year. And again, like I didn't sit down and say, I wanted to qualify for Worlds. It was never even on the radar. I stepped up at Sunapee, and you can ask my Brooks teammates, you can ask all of the girls I raced. I was saying, I don't care about Worlds. I just want to race this race. I just truly do not. And they knew it. And it's even funny, like they were going back on the type B personality thing. We had a Brooks house for Sunapee, and everybody was up. The race is at 9. Everybody's up like 5:30, whatever. I literally sleep into like 7:30 and roll out of bed. I'm like, oh shoot, okay, we gotta go. To me, it's all about like the experiences and the places and the people. And so at the beginning of the year, I put together a schedule of races that sounded really fun. That's why I went to Asia. I'd never been to Asia, and I was like, if Brooks is gonna help me pay for this and send me here, and Golden Trail is gonna accept me with all these like crazy random results in the past, like, yeah, I'll go do it. We'll go see a new part of the world. I signed up for Sunapee because, Brooks was putting together a kind of a camp around that, and I wanted to be part of that. And, everything about my schedule this year was about like refining the joy. And I've written about it in my social media. Like the absolute boundary that I set for myself was, if I'm going to re-enter into the sport and for 2025, I am not allowing myself to get nervous, and there's no pressure expectation for any race. And that was every day I wake up in it, I'm reminded of that. So, yesterday I did my first ever double workout of my whole life. And I remind myself, no, you don't get to get nervous for this. This is just exciting, and see what it does. There's no expectations on paces, throw them out the door. Don't look at your watch, whatever it is. And that like set the foundation for the year. And so I've been really working hard to like tune that mindset of no pressure, no nervousness. You're running for you because you're happy now. And this is the girl that you are and thought you could be 10 years ago. And so that is a long-winded story to tell you kind of my approach to this year and kind of where it came out of.
Wow. I love it. That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for being candid and being open to tell your story. I have to add to like one thing, like it's been really interesting. I've got to meet and know quite well a lot of your Brooks teammates, and so many people have sung your praises, like Sydney Peterson, Anna Gibson, like Dan Kurtz, like so many people have talked about you and brought you up. And that's part of the reason why I was like, I have to have a conversation with you. We have to get you on the pod. But just like from a leadership perspective and a mentorship perspective, like that seems to be that role that you have is very noticed. It seems like they like you're very admired in that team, which is very cool.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about. I gotta ask you the world's question. Now that you're like you got fourth at Sunapee, we're right there. You made the team. We all kind of had an inkling, and maybe you have more background information to this than I do. Like I only know so much, but like we all kind of had a feeling that Grayson was going to go up and move to the marathon or to the short trail distance. How long did you know? Like, did they approach you and talk to you about it like long ago, or like how long did you know before it was announced?
Well, Grayson is one of my best friends and my business partner. So the moment I crossed the finish line at Sunapee, I mean, I knew that she was going for that team, the other team. And so, I think I got a text from her, and she was like, there's no one I'd rather have had in that fourth place position. And I'm going to do everything I can to let us both go to Spain.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. And so like, I wasn't like putting my mindset in a place where like, oh, I'm going to go, because I had no idea. Like she could also go and have raced the 50K and not liked it. And she did for, 24 hours and then came back and was like, actually, maybe I do like this. And so we have been in constant communication. I feel like we text several times a week, and so I like kind of knew where everything was at, and had heard a few things from other people of like, well, you're not the automatic person that gets in if she does decline her spot. I'm like, yeah, okay. So, once again, I'll let everything else decide, and then we'll go from there. And so I didn't know until I think they announced it July 15th, I think like the July 5th or 6th or something.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I got a call from Paul, and he was like, hey, Grayson gave up her spot. We picked her for the team. And I think everybody, was really on board with you having that spot. And they figured you'd say yes, but I just wanted to call and make sure. And so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy thing of like, okay, like I'm supporting Grayson as a friend. Obviously I want us both to go. And I want her to do what she wants to do, right? If she came off the 50K and didn't like it, I wanted to be her biggest fan of like, then go to the classic because you could still win a world title, and not like putting pressure on anyone or anything, but yeah.
So it was an easy yes for you then. Like, did you take time to think about it, or did you have time?
Oh, it was an easy yes. It was an easy yes. I will say my mindset this year has been really dialed. I'd say my lowest point was Broken Arrow when I decided not to go and race the Ascent and the 23K. And I had a little minty bee and had to go and camp in the mountains and be out of service for the weekend, because it was ultimately what was best for me was to not go to that race. I had, been racing early. My season started earlier than most, and I'd done a lot. And, going back to the whole, like, really goal of the year was to keep this mindset. And like, if I was going to go to Broken Arrow, it kind of threatened that mindset. I could get caught up in it. I could get nervous. And then I wouldn't want to come off that and be like, oh my gosh, like all the work I've done is gone. And so we made the decision to not go to Broken Arrow. But then I watched the races before and then ended up having to leave. And I don't even know what question you asked here and why I'm rambling on about this. But yeah, basically, I saw them do that. And I saw the Ascent, and I saw like 3 of my like best friends make the team, like Anna, Sydney, and Jess, and Hillary is a teammate too. So 4 really great people, but like Jess is one of my all-time best friends. Like Jess is a big reason why I'm into trail running, and our stories go back for a while from Flagstaff, and we see each other often, and to see her make that team, it was almost like, oh my goodness, I want to be there with you guys. And so it's like, less of like a decision and more of just like, yeah, I want to go party with all you guys on the trails and have fun in September. And it works great. So yeah. Oh, and then Grayson making the team. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, all my friends. So why wouldn't I go if I have the spot?
It's a giant party. Like Ken Frank's going to be wild. It's going to be a good time. Mm-hmm. Are you going to go out to Europe beforehand? Are you going to what's the plan? Are you going to do any of the more Golden Trail Series races? Like, what are you going to do for the rest of the summer?
So I ended up going to Mexico last minute after the Broken Arrow Minty Bee. I decided to go to Mexico to secure points for the Golden Trail final, in the case that if I had made the world team, then I didn't need to go and get more points. And so thankfully it worked out in a way that I placed really high at Mexico and had a really great race there. And then also made the world team. So came back and rearranged my schedule. I had on the calendar Austria next weekend, or soon. And then I was like, I don't need to go to that. I also got asked to be a mentor on the trail team's trip to Slovenia. And nice. We're putting together like a little developmental like US team there. And when Andy texted me that, I was like, 1 second, please hold. I called Matt and looked at the course, and I was like, I think this is actually better for my schedule. What do you think? And Matt was like 1,000%. You need to go to Slovenia and do these races. So I'm going to go race the World Cup finals, an uphill race on the 23rd, and then a classic style race on the 24th, which is just way more conducive to the world champ style racing. And then, so I'll go to Slovenia for a week in the end of August, come back, train a little bit more here. And then we'll go to Europe for a month because we'll do Worlds and Golden Trail Final. So stay over there for September, October.
Wow. That's a heck of a schedule. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to be, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of hype and excitement around Worlds. And I don't know. It's just pretty cool to have, like, I feel like maybe you'll agree with this. We're sending a squad, like, especially the women's, like, mountain classic team, obviously the short trail as well, vertical team, they're all amazing, but like, I can't think of it. There's no like 1 week team. Like everyone's really good.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that I have been raving about that all week. I was like, when USATF came out with the full roster, I was like, okay, this is the best team that they've ever sent for trail. I mean, it's just a testament to like the trail world is picking up and like these world champs stuff are, becoming more legit. I think for a long time, we just piece together teams and send people over there and, whatever. That was awesome. But I think now people are starting to like put more stock and value into that and brands, of course, and there's more eyes on it. And, having people like Katie Scheid and Jim Walmsley, be on the tentative roster, like that's lovely. And yeah, I was looking at the women's side. I was like, every single one of those women is a sponsored trail athlete, which is crazy. I don't think any other year they could say that. And the women are just, I don't know. I think we have a really good shot to mix some things up. I mean, especially in the classic with like 3 incredible athletes and me, and I get to be a part of that. So
it's a squad. Yeah. It was, like I said, it was not only an honor to call your guys' race at Sunapee, but and I said this to Danny and MK like multiple times, like, yo, like this is a team to beat. Good luck to the Europeans. Mm-hmm. Like have fun with that. So one of the things I thought was cool, you brought up like Jess Walmsley. Like I had no idea that like, cause I know obviously Jess and Jim like lived for the longest time, like in, and still kind of reside in Flagstaff, but it's neat how everybody kind of knows everybody in the trail space. Like it's very interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, living in Flagstaff, I feel like if you live in Flagstaff or Boulder, you just come real connected real fast. And living in Flagstaff for the 3 years that I lived there, and then again last year for 6 months, I mean, I just felt like I found family there. And yeah, Jess and I go back to the original time that I got into trail running, and she was like a mentor of mine in a way of like she was so amazing because she was like, wow, you are such a talented track athlete, but let me show you like the way of the trail. And so Jess and I have shared so much and like just being able to like level each other of like, we're both like have so much that we're bringing in to our relationship of like, I can bring the speed and track background and she can bring like the ultra expertise and stuff like that. And we have just absolutely hilarious stories from, my first few times in the Grand Canyon running with them and whatnot. And so it's been also really cool and like heartwarming to see her progression in the sport too, because back then she was just like, yeah, I'm doing it for fun and it's great. And I work a job and support Jim and doing this. And now she's making that her career too. And so it's been really cool to see both of our paths and so special relationship for sure.
So cool. And it was amazing to see her make the uphill team this year, like, or the vertical team. Like, I think like it very, how do I say this? Like she should be taken much more seriously, like in a lot of ways, which I think is really cool.
Dude, she's one of the best climbers in the US. Like
so good. Yeah.
Easily. She doesn't know that or believe it, but she is.
Big time. I want to talk to you a little bit about coaching, like working. Yeah. You obviously work as a coach as well, correct?
Yeah. Grayson, Rachel, and I started the Wild Strides Coaching Collective last November. And so, we have been running with that. It's been really fun.
What is it like? How do you like working with athletes and just doing the whole coaching thing? Like, is it?
Yeah, I really love it. Rachel and I were part of another coaching company that we started when it was in its infancy in Flagstaff. And, Rachel is one of my best friends and we have talked so many years and I'm like, dang, like it would be so fun to be our own bosses and like to just do it our way. And so when we decided to do it with Grayson last year, we were like, okay, how do we make this different? Because like everyone and their brother seems to be a running coach. And so I'm like, dang, now I'm just like part of the cliche. And it's like, no, like we serve a role and like that, don't do that. Don't self-deprecate. But we were like, how about like we serve or like we try to aim at like all terrain athletes. So somebody that all 3 of us have represented the US on the trail and track, which is so cool. Like that I don't even know if you could find 3 other people or a other person that has done that, like especially a female. And so we all were like, dang, we have something here. So let's aim at the all-terrain athlete, somebody that wants to crush a road marathon, but then come back in the spring and do an ultra or sub-ultra racing, whatever it is. And so I think that's been really fruitful to see, like, that's been our story. And so now we get to use our story to help others in their story and make them believe that they can be that unicorn, that we all three are too. So
cool. No, I think it's like, I mean, it's really special too. Like you said, to add to that, like you guys have some of like the craziest resumes of like literally any people in the trail world. So yeah, like not to plug it too hard, but I'll put it in the show notes. So if you're looking for more people to work with, I'll put it there. Let's talk about like your relationship as far as like Matt goes and like having him, because, you know, like Matt's been in sport a long time. I've always looked up to Matt. He and I used to live in the same town, and he moved up to Boulder, become one of the Boulder boys, the Boulder people. But like I said, I always looked up to him. What is it like working with him as a coach, like from a coaching perspective? Like, do you do a lot of volume? Are you more of a volume runner or less volume? Like, what is that stylistically for you?
Sure. Well, Matt like knows his stuff. Like Matt is like someone that from day one I knew. I was like, oh, you get in the weeds and you nerd out about this. This is great. I love that. Please do this with my training and tell me how to train. And so I've had like a handful of coaches, and I feel like I've also had a handful of those coaches, just really hard, strained relationships of like lack of trust or lack of understanding of like who I am as an athlete. And ultimately that just like leads to like disappointment on both sides. And so it's been really so cool to see Matt come alongside and be like, okay, let me learn about you because you're different than, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so. And so, you know, I ran with him this morning, and he, you know, it's great to have somebody that's in person and that can see me and, you know, sometimes be out there on workouts or pace me or whatever. I think that's been really special too. But in terms of like how I train and volume, I'd say like a pretty classic sub ultra type trainer where I'm like doing, you know, 50 to 60 ish miles a week, high vert. So high number of hours. But by no means am I a big volume person. Coming from the track world, I just never was. I thrived at 55 to 65. And so I'm going to stay there, because if I'm doing 65 on the trails here, that's like, you know, 12, 13, 14 hours of running a week with 15,000 feet of climbing, whatever it is. And so it's been cool to like see the body kind of come back to a place of fitness where I'm like, oh, I'm really strong now. And it's like a totally different type of strength. I do a lot of like steep stuff. Funny, because that's podcast.
Pun intended.
And that usually just like makes me feel really good. I think I'm like a pretty average climber and pretty average descender on like, and so that makes me pretty well rounded. And so I like getting that into my training. Yeah.
Do you still do any stuff on the track at all? Like I see, like I know Grayson every now and then gets like, so a lot of people do get out on the track like a decent chunk.
Yeah, I haven't, because last year when I went through all of the stuff that I went through, I was training for the Olympic trials and the steeplechase, actually. It's crazy to say that now. And as I was kind of in the process of redoing my life and moving, I got 2 stress fractures in my pelvis from training on the track. And so I had never had a running related injury in my whole life. And so that like really scared me. I think I just overdid it a little bit, but mostly from life stress. And so I've been a little bit timid to go back into the track. But I have found that like the types of training that Matt writes me for the mountains makes me really fit, and I'm really responding well to it. Like for instance, I haven't done a flat workout for probably 3 to 4 months. And he wrote me a double workout yesterday, my first one ever, like I said, and I did a hill workout in the morning, and then I had a flat like tempo in the afternoon. And the afternoon one, I was shocked by what I was running, because I don't run flat. And it was really cool to see the aerobic fitness translate. It's like, oh, legs are strong and lungs are strong. So that means you're going to run fast, even on a flat surface. And so I think I don't need all that flat surface stimulus all the time. It's nice to have every now and then, but yeah, I just think that the mountain legs make me really strong.
Wow, that's so interesting. Training theory is so cool too, because like different people just respond differently to different things. Like
For
there's
sure.
no two people are the same, which is kind of neat. I've been working. I've worked with coaches a long time, and then I just started coaching myself. And like I use ChatGPT, and the stuff that I've like figured out with ChatGPT, I'm like, damn. I don't recommend that to people. So you mentioned you were going for your PhD. Like, what did you study, or what do you do like professionally with the PhD, or did you do?
Yeah, so I started my PhD. I did not finish. Started it in like ecology. I had done a lot of research with like restoration ecology, specifically, like big plant soil girl, and thought I wanted to pursue that for research and ultimately become a professor. And so I did that for a year and realized I didn't want to be bound by grant writing for the rest of my life. And I ended up switching into a master's, and I got a master's in science education and learning, because I was like, I love being in the classroom. I love teaching the plants and the soils and all of that, but I don't love like being the one that's like writing the grants. And so I got a degree that ultimately could, end up, I could teach at a college or community college or high school or whatever I wanted to teach. And ultimately actually went into education research. And so I worked in like developing STEM curriculum for minorities, working like specifically with like Boys and Girls Club and NASA grants that had already been written and funded, but were basically like working in a way to create curriculum that engaged several different types of communities and individuals to make them believe that they could also be scientists one day. And so I worked in that field for a little bit. And then I always say I moved to California and had to sell my soul to the tech world because bills went up and the rent went up. And that measly little education salary is only going to get you so far. And so I ended up working in the technology world from 2022 to earlier this year. I worked for Slack, actually, which I feel like is a product a lot of people use.
Yeah.
And then took a step away earlier this year with some layoffs. Classic. Everyone's going through them. And it was like it was the best timing for a layoff. It was February. And I was like, okay, I think once again, the universe is telling me here that I need to just like buy into this running thing and this coaching thing. And there's a lot that's going really well. And I can take the rest of the year to think about what I want to do with my next steps. And as soon as I kind of made the decision to not go back into the industry and to give myself a year off of work, doors like flew open. It was like, oh my gosh, I am working with a small brand and working for this nonprofit and being able to put my time in here and be creative, and all the other things that I knew I had and could do started to come out. And so now I'm like full-time, athlete coach and investing in just like community building and the running world, which has been very cool and
so
not something I ever wanted to do. I always said I wanted to like build out my career and be a runner, and life changes. So I'm leaning into this time.
Yeah. No, I was going to say soul enriching, and it's like, I don't know. Like I've lived and worked the corporate life for a very long time now. And I love asking folks that are like kind of full-time pursuing their own stuff. Like you just get more time to enjoy life. I feel like that's kind of like a big thing. And you probably agree. I mean, working in tech, like you work stupid hours. Like it's, and this is nothing against people that do it, because a lot of people do it, if not most people, but to be able to be free and do things like that and pursue athletics and to have more time to do the things you want to do, I think just leads to such a happier, healthier life.
Yeah, I realize it's exactly right. I realized that the big paycheck comes at a cost, right? It's really nice and cushy and amazing, but like you are a slave to that, and like everything else has to fall in the right place and pieces to that. And so it's scary to say like, yes, I'm going to make a lot less doing the things that I love, but it's not scary to know that like I'm much more myself and much more happier and much more able to show up as a friend or like coworker or, business partner now than I was in the past. And so I don't know what the future holds in the corporate world for me, if it does hold anything, but I do know that like I'm done being a careerist and climbing that career ladder, because it just isn't like, the more you climb it, the more you like pigeonhole yourself into a spot that is harder to get out of.
Yeah. No, it's 100%. Yeah. I could literally do a whole nother podcast on that topic.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. That's funny. All right. We're at about an hour. I do want to get some ending questions just out of pure curiosity. I'm curious, who inspires you?
Wow, that's a really crazy question to just ask somebody right off.
Sorry.
I think that like, I wouldn't say there's like one person that inspires me, but I think it's a group of like people that are pursuing life in a way that is well-rounded and integrated into community. So there are people in my life that are really strong community builders and connectors, that are go-getters, but can also be really present with you and sit with you. And those are the type of people that inspire me, because I can see them go out and do incredible things in the world, but they also come back to their home or to their family or to their place or their people and are there for them. And so I think that's the type of person I want to be, somebody that is like building community and going after big goals, but also can like be at peace and myself and at home and my family or whatever that looks like. So yeah, kind of like a not necessarily cop out answer, but kind of a different answer.
No, I really appreciate it. Actually, this has actually been a topic I've been talking about a lot on the podcast and just talking with other athletes and individuals about it. Is like, you meet a lot of people in everyday life that like, it's more insular. It's more, they're very about themselves, right? They're trying to protect me first. And I feel like in society now, it doesn't like make me upset, but I see more of it where like folks just, the idea and concept of community and building community and creating community or giving back, whether that's in a mentorship way or in whichever way you can. It's just like not a talked about thing. And it's just not as prevalent as I feel like it used to be. And I don't know what that is. Yeah,
for sure. And especially like, as you get into the world of athletics, like, and not to knock anyone particularly, but like there are people that it's like their whole world becomes them and it's all about them. And it's like, I think in my pursuit of this life in general, it's like, I realized that in order to be the best version of myself, like I do have to be other minded and build that up support system up around me. And like, yes, do things that feel in line with me and that I love, but like, part of that is like pouring out and giving back and in a way that, yeah, feels really fulfilling. And like, I can lay my head down at night and not have to worry about all the little things in my life because I know that my support system is there and my community is there. And I'm working each day to build that and into something that is wonderful and beautiful.
I think that's a good place to end it. Courtney, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm such a fan. Like, thank you for coming on the pod. And hopefully this is not our last convo. Hope to either see you on the trails or interview. I'll probably interview you. I think I'm going to do something for Worlds, try to get like some of the teams together and do like a team roundtable chats or something like that. It would be kind of fun.
That'd be fun. Yeah. Where are you located?
I'm in the Springs.
Oh, okay. Nice. I think we're putting together a little mountain champs training camp in Buena Vista.
Oh, wow.
Close to you.
Yeah. Let me know. I'll definitely, dude, it'd be cool. I'd love to come interview you guys. Like talk.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll throw it out there to them. I think they're just putting together, it's like August 15th to 17th if you're around.
Yeah. That'd be sweet. Keep me posted. Let me know. Like I said, I think that's kind of one of the things I really want to get into next, especially with this. I feel like this is going to be such a special year going into Worlds. Like, we've talked about like how stacked the teams are, but not just even that, like just the folks that are on the team. Like, who knows? This might be Joe's last Worlds or maybe not. I don't know. But like just having all of these really special people on the team, like I feel like there's a lot of good storytelling there to, help share these stories and have conversations. So, and even things that like you guys can look back on in the future to be able to be like, oh yeah, it was special. So yeah. Let's keep me posted. Let me know. And this will come out in the probably next week. Thank you so much for your time. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. This was great and fun way to reflect on my own journey. It's like, just as useful for me as it is for you.
Yeah. I'm going to pause it. What'd you guys think? Oh man, what a great episode. I want to thank Courtney personally so much for coming on the podcast. Hope this is the first of many conversations as she continues to develop in her career and just continues to crush it on the trail running scene. So, guys, before you get going, if you wouldn't mind, you could find Courtney on Instagram. Find her, give her a follow, send her some words of encouragement as she takes on just a gigantic season of really intensive racing, especially going to Worlds, and just going to be part of like what I think is just going to be such an unbeatable mountain classic team, like so loaded. We're sending some squads for Worlds this year. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, you can find her on Instagram. That's going to be at CPCOP_. That's Courtney Coppinger. Give her a follow and send her some kind words. Guys, before you get going, if you did enjoy this episode or any previous episodes, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you consume your podcasts. That would mean the world to me, so we can continue covering this great sport of short trail. Or sub-ultra, however you want to call it. I kind of like short trail better now. I don't know. But yeah, give us a 5-star rating and review if you wouldn't mind. And, let me know in the show notes of the comments why you like this, or what we need to work on here. And yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming around the corner. Like I said earlier, there's a cool collaboration with SubHub that we're going to be dropping pretty soon, and we've got some good stuff coming out for Series and All. I've got a great preview episode for Series and All coming out next week with a cool co-host. You guys are a new co-host, so some good stuff out there. It's going to be a lot of fun, so lots to look forward to on the horizon. Lots of good episodes. Hope you guys enjoyed all this, and I really appreciate you listening along and following along. Have a great rest of your day.